The Tale of Genji. Suma, Murasaki Shikibu. I pulled into the ocean, forget the tears that shake people love. Unexpected Omoi weather only should Akiko. Minister sect of our emperor of maternal relative is going to increasingly show the unpleasant eye to Genji to the extreme pressure. Tsutomi it also calmly to have this. Genji and the unexpected may now more than a misfortune doctor if you put in this state comes. Happening began to think. Genji is a place called Suma the Gishi in the land of secluded life. Although the old days had considerably well as house, recently the population also becomes lean and deserted. The Genji and the number is very small living a fisherman had heard. Where many also of the people to say that the countryside too has ended up with no tightening secluded life is unpleasant. To say that I see. It is too far to Kyoto. That which is not said to the people in some, but with it will none. The concern is that of his wife. Did not decide to go into agony as a result of Suma. At this time the future was also all sad. The past come up in the mind of Genji. Ito Wishiku I thought the city also is made at the time of the let's finally away to far away. That a lot of things to the mind that hard to throw away Genji was feeling. Young Mrs. among them is the poor of the manner in which is sad to day-to-day farewell to approach was Itamishika in Masa. Anything, even if there is readiness that poised to meet again no matter what it is with this person. If you think about it, it did not bear even longing to have a sleepover of the day 2 days. The queen is also the meantime because it is such a relationship when it just as Kokoroboso. Without also do not live at home was definite of several years in the period. In the impermanence of this world, and temporary farewell is not paced, and to become farewell forever. Genji sad, but it's also to be a feeling that left softly with together. In such a lonely Suma places like, except to come by the waves to the coast. Also no residence to visit the people. It is you are living with this brilliant lady. To some is that a too unbecoming. Expect Genji and will unexpected must suffer Itamashi of the wife even as himself. But it was decided to quit. Mrs. Dat what a terrible place, I say if even go is show. Saying, I thought you're a Meshiku from being denied the choice you want to go. Even your flower Chisato. Even if it is rare to come through the Genji. Because family life ice are able to if there is a protection of all Genji. Guess most of that damaged the heart in front of this change thing must be said. Even if not there was a great love in the hearts of Genji. Anyway in the places that had come throughout from time to time as lover. It was in the majority in women that damaged the secret heart. Also from the house of priest. Also your consolation well sported the refrain that the unexpected may be made is talked about too. Led to disadvantage its own position in such a thing to the world had all the time in Genji. Once upon a time in the day as if it was that this passion was show me Genji thought. All the time Brand Sena Benara the pensive fate for this man was Urameshika. In decided to stand Kyoto as in March 20 several days. Without anything announcement to the world. Ayatsu Kasa 7 who thinks in extremely intimate. And to test only 8 people. Had decided to go out with a simple number. Send only the letter to the place of lovers. Was secretly said goodbye, without those formal, which was muffled of true feeling. Because was also wrote a letter, which tried to keep refers forgets his or her forever. But there must have been also surely those literary interesting. The author to the hour and minute is not to confuse the head in this tragic event is. It is regrettable that was not placed to hear in mind those things. 2 before departure, is that of the 3 days. Genji went to gently Sadaijin house. A simple Ajiro car. Also like that you are closer is riding a woman toward the back. Seem just as sad dream as to Kinji's. More of the dwelling that has been used long ago felt like as rough lonely in the eyes of Genji. Tok and Nani are Wakagimi, is Toka people who still remain in the maid old wife. It came together once rarity that came of Genji. A look at the unfortunate Genji of today. All well as young wife not been able yet enough recognition of life cry. Wakagimi was a pretty face came running while playfully. I'm not forget the father even if not look long. To say. Genji was sad to even well sit the child to the top of the knee. Sadaijin was in Genji come here. I understand between Ohima that, but anything not as an old story. But could not help but want to Omenakaka. Not even your apprenticeship because of illness. And had not left to the authorities. People in carefree as a private individual is like is said to be dating too. But it also I hope, even if the other. Now the society is there then was afraid because you are adding some kind of harm but in such a thing. And I see your downfall. I since has a long life. Even therefore it and sad and view such a miserable world. Is the last days. There are phenomena not that there may be a heaven and earth upside down. I will everything I turn to hate. It was a minister to say while wilting with. Since the will of everything as well as all previous generation of reward. I of their sins fundamentally speaking. Even if not that of enough to be stripped of his rank like me. Are those who emperors censure in the same way as ordinary people what is never regards that life does not have it in just this country. Since such as me it's also provisions that exile to the far away and got off the remains in Kyoto and undergo still some punishment think will we. You have the confidence that it is false charges I feel sorry to the court also has to be to stay in Kyoto. Before that do not meet the severe punishment of more than now. I thought I'd better move from their own to a remote land and the like. I've been bits and pieces Genji said. Minister to the old story. Whether now come love Genji hospital how much. Pulling the example. It is impossible to separate the sleeves of the repair to keep the tears from the face. Genji was also crying. Wakagimi walked between the grandfather and the father innocently. Is Fu mind is struck to have fun with that fond to two people. That daughter died, but I ever sad to not be able to forget even a little. The much more things now. It had been alive if any. And will, no matter how Tanku that short-lived dead in. Theirs was the first time comforted by that did not have to see this nightmare. Smaller becomes the come left in the old grandparents. The date that is not close to the fine Fukin length it seems that it marginally adequate it thank. Most Kanashu more than anything to me. Also a person who has committed the truth crime in old age. So much of the treatment is what did not receive. There is no other to see that it is fate. Foreign theirs became of the hit you on false charges. As there are a great deal in court. However, even so, if there are those who break the ice somehow, in Sawajadashi the world, punishment is a thing of the from it. Very much translation is young no. The minister said a variety of opinions. Also came third place Lieutenant General. Genji decided to stay because dandruff night by, for example, or out sake. It was to discuss attracting wives in the parlor. But your Chunigan is a hidden lover of Genji. How is was one of the sadness cannot say to people Genji is not helped but seem pathetic. Genji after everyone went to bed was all comfort the Chunigan. The reason we stayed the Genji is there was in there. The next morning was go home is Genji between dark. Beautiful the dawn of the month. A variety of spring tree and flower loses all prime. In the garden a little of flowers Sakanoko, in the shadow of the young leaves. Pale mist hanging, haze wrapped flowers in white in it and stick beauty that you are in. Deep be shim to learn than the fall of the night of beauty. Leaning in the corner of the parapet. It was for a while Genji looked at the garden. Yuer of Chunigan was sitting at a sumato trying Miyokuro. Whether you and also reunion is possible, would be to the feel difficult. Do not know that becomes such a fate. It is regrettable that was Ide carefree the time that was able to meet it met. And Genji but was say a woman is just crying without saying anything. Is to use as your prime minister of the nanny of Wakagimi? Control of the house of the minister Mrs. convey the greetings. I wanted to ask even talk to Omanakaka. And now prior is sadness. If within that did not have even trying to. is so visiting the city again so soon, that anything that we are supposed to be not be relied, so let their sad thing. We do not like to wait pathetic person until you awoke from sleep. Quote, Genji have heard, crying. Go each to be magach hachi no hay salt of Kato bake rudge smoke she burning bird part mountain. I had to say without the lyrics of your reply to this. What is farewell to dawn will all those so sad. You probably have experience. Farewell even when what is think Kanashu, but does not think that it thank this morning of Kanashu can be compared to anything. Your voice of the Prime Minister's has become a nasal voice. It was Fu is sad verbatim deeply. There are also some of that you would like us to talk about. But now it also has the agony and will not be I would like to mind. Please Sash. We are sleeping right now, well be people in the smitten this morning or there is. Because let there become possible to hesitate to Omo Itachi of my journey. It will be ruthless but miry this state. Quote, and Genji your Tamiya, it was returned the greeting. Wives the figure of Genji go back home had accept everyone. In the light of the moon to Biochio has become one step bright. Kiyoshi Tsuya of appearance. Look at the Genji leaving while the pensive tiger will also not help but cry even wolf. Let alone because these people are had by samurai from the boyhood of Genji. It was thought sad this farewell without unspeakable. The song became the temple of return for the song of Genji. She become a farewell and Itodo Hedetara does smoke of the deceased Kumoi unique. It is because, now the tears of the date of the previous bereavement and sorrow only people who flowing along. Sadaijin house was filled with a voice of muse Binaki of woman. When Genji is looked back to the article of the hospital. My wife even hear it Fu revealed out all the way 10 from the evening. Was very sad consequences of the world are clustered in some places. Looking at the home positions of the loadmaster. Close courtiers should keep up with Genji. Nobody not their own is going toward the house for sparing it's prepared. The farewell of the families. Although what was to come is well from beginning to end gathered a person other than the profession. To come to visit is not in anyone horribly eyes of campin'. In the past many were horses and cars to the temple is not even a shadow as well. Genji and I were those so lonely the life thought. With a small number of people also be used such as a large table of the dining room. It is about half had not Sumora the dust tatami had been to some places back for. Is already doing to one that I have. The house after you've left much less as Genji thought I would however become desolate thing. If you go to the west of the pair, is not unloaded the lattice remains good. Because his wife to the pensive was after had been all night occurred. Such as Dojo, which was sleeping in some places of the edge side. Barely everyone okidashi at this time, but also was to quaint to traffic while the appearance of the night. Genji is also at a time like that as weak in the gas. Between the years of absence and moved to another and were scattered even these people when would gone. It was to become Kokoroba so Kubi imagined that there is no way. Genji to his wife. To visit to farewell the Sadaijin house. He said that the night was night and dandruff. It you are suspect to other things. Or did not want mortification. Only other slight not only my Kyo of time. At least as I want to be with you I am but he wants. Finally I think when it comes to go to far away. Here also by you is often the house that must be kept back in. Kind regards. Humans because you might who time to die. The remains, which were thought to such reproachful and bad eye, not to me, such as mortifying that other than your things this happens. Also in appearance of only saying his wife and a look of deep sorrow than anyone else. I thought Genji is the most the father of the princess queen from the beginning. To not become come have a deep love of the more princess to become come grow at hand. Also in the currently Hibaka, the queen mother school. Become a decoy the aloof attitude. To not become come to the unfortunate visit of Genji. Mrs. I think is that embarrassing respectability. Better to remain not know of the existence had regret also rather was good. Mrs. of a stepmother palaces. to a certain person. When I think that person has appeared in suddenly happy woman, immediately or not it disappears in the other. The dream mom, grandmother, now seems to people not from short edge to anyone in the order that Yojin and said the words. Because the story, if there are people who are familiar with the circumstances of your residence of the house, the queen is thought miserable your meshiku, a breach date not to unshin. Also from here to no one person relying on the other who will was the loneliness of the queen that do not have. When was I that is forever placed in the status quo? Will pick you be any terrible wabi residence, because now respectability able to run it is not calm. Only I do not have to refrain from emperor's censure of things that people are, so it does not have also been allowed to leap to the bottom of the bright sun moon. They become the carefree. We will be overlaying the sin. I have confidence that there is no crime committed government that, since I have been in these things or something before students of faith, let alone because that there is no example that or go to Heisho along with his wife. But that which cannot be considered in the common sense to see you because you such as to provide an excuse to persecute me. Quote, Genji had said such. Genji until the time close noon, but was in the bedroom, made the temple in Sochi within its ranked 3rd Lieutenant General was also visiting SMB's residence. But Genji was to the Chakugate of the meeting, because I'm a man of Mukurai, to say. It was in plain heeled, so it seems to have become a rather gloss of appearance. Genji towards the dressing table in order to scratch the bottle. Face a view of the fin seemed clean with us. It's that diminished a great deal. It is pathetic that are so skinny. And when the Genji says, the queen saw the better of the mirror with tears in her eyes. Genji of mind is just darkened in sadness. Only the shadow of the mirror, not leaf per kimi, even the Inuan of Tabus leaves flip. When Genji says, also had comfort even looked in the mirror if one stops tome shadows farewell. While this says without even say, elegant beauty of Waka Murasaki that diverting the tears so as to be hidden in the pillars. It should be noted also admit to and is a lover that better than anyone Genji. Prince in the 3rd place Lieutenant General was back in the evening to talk the shim to the body. That flower Chisato is there for Kokoro Boso. Also of Yokosuka the letter all the time since decided that the next time been considered the most thing is to Genji. That person would also think you're a meshiku if they are going to see you again mind you. From the get out of the house to go also to there tonight. Genji also seemed lonely less than things with itself. In order to mind did not proceed. Came from dandruff much. What was also, please deviation in the one of the place to be in your walk farewell to here. It is such as that of Nyogo which delighted to say such a thing put a little omitted. Since this lonely woman brother's eyes are keeping the dignity of life slightly by the sympathy of Genji. Anxiety, such as that or go happened in the future. Genji as drifting in a lonely house saw dim moonbin pointing around the wide pond. When the hit of a lot of wood Tsukiyama was overlooked lonely. Genji thought that it would be much less. Suma Nora is lonely. Princess you are in the west parlor is made in 2 days before departure. I shall not any more. Genji visit is received, but was had by Mira care. In the light of Shimanyaka month. Genji but I know that was walk to here. Quietly out to go ni. And it became a time near dawn while you are talking while watching the moon side by side as it is. 2 people, so you have a short night, but I may not have another be needed together alone something like this. The time we were still need not be caught in the midst of such a nasty world. Why only to waste was the will you do not know the past to the future to become the unfortunate man. Such as small example both. Why may have together with your time probably did not make a lot so far. Quote, and started to say is Genji that to date from the beginning of love. But it is not run out of sentimental story. Chicken was also no more often. Genji is still Habaka, the world. It is not must go out to dawn from here. Woman's heart feel too. Such as when the moon will be entered straight was sad. Month of light is gesture pointing to the top of the sleeve of flower Chisato. It was like the song called Get Wet Naru made face to dwell month of. The light, not the sleeve, is narrow and ask each place and look red as in a moonlight. Saying, how are sad once flowers Chisato is too pathetic. Had to yar in comfort from better of Genji. Often fogged as sky views resin of moonlight to be living and go visiting Suhi. Ephemeral it's, I'm to have a hope. But it is dark and the mind come the tears to flow in the opposite. And Genji is to say, I went back in time to become temporarily dark before the dawn. Genji took finally to prepare the journey. Served in good faith to Genji. Was determined to choose the people who do not think that the flatter the current dominance. From the top first, those who deal with affairs in the absence as Ayatsukasa to the bottom. Is particularly also judges of Shisaken selected from among them to accompany. Going to have to use the secluded life only daily necessary things. It also chose the no-frills frugal ones. Then book such. The box was placed, such as poetry. It is that in addition decided to go hand harp only one. There is a lot hand tools and delicate crafts not go a little bit also has. It is to trying to be frugal secluded life's one commoner. Genji, including the men and women who had been using call until now, decided to let the whole thing home to the west of the pair. Territory of the manor, ranch, other proprietary those securities was also going to put into the hand of everyone wife. It should be noted that in addition to goods number of warehouse that is being chikuzo of. Also, such as paydono, of some in the top of the nanny of credit to Shonigan, the house Tsukasa put to it. Management of the property of a certain as those of Mrs. It was Hakara, to assume the office. In which Genji was used directly as wife of a pair of East up to now. Nakatsukasa, mistress, et al. Of Genji that such as Lieutenant General. Even if there is a place reproachful to the indifference of the Genji. Happiness to live in close proximity and people who were happy to admit. But it was thought that good wife work to look forward to what the future. Good. But I think people want to be my place that might go live longer can be in addition to Kyoto is served in the west of the pair. And Genji is to say, it was all of the wife from top to bottom to Kisa to the west of the pair. And it gave a wealth of dividing the silk acids necessary for a woman of life. Also to Wakagami nanny who are in Sadaijin house and also to the flower Chisato was that ornate thing was also, but is something of a practical thing many a line send me was necessary for the year. Genji also sent a letter of farewell also to the place of shoji with concern the public eye in the middle. It seems to be reason for not Kudasara say from you anything. But if you try it when you finally leave the Kyoto, that seems to be sad. You will be cans also strongly your Meshia, and sink to the river of Tris defunct tears and flows beginning of the Rumi Narakan. Does not have any desire to be saved and the Buddha is a strong obsession with so human. It is the fact that then did write the fineness is doubtful peep between. Shoji having read the letter was therefore very sad. Tears exiting flow did not have endlessly. And not also the rapids of the later parted shelt unexpected disappear even Namitakawa float. Suimatsu, Nikinaki wrote in the disordered mind. Also saw the beautiful disturbance writing of the character. The heart of Genji many attracted as. Although I thought also whether it will myself is to go without this person and the end of the conference. Various it was to reflect on Genji such. I think that I miss the human family as the attempted a boycott of Genji. Also in Oshihaka, also painfulness of the position of the person. Did not do more than send a letter. Genji on the eve of the departure went to Kitayama in order to have an audience with the tomb of the hospital, because was time to leave the moon toward the dawn. Genji was waiting upon your farewell to the house of the priest to time of up to it. Sagittarius of Genji is provided in front of your living room of bamboo blind. It was to become speak in the temple himself. Mia is your state the obo shimeshi anxiety without as long as that of the crown prince. The Nis dodged the words of farewell rap and entered the intelligent men and women as he. But it was something like that sophisticated sorrow Genji long ago to receive a little also of a nostalgic beautiful feeling not to come changed. To the yearning over the past 10 years. Was to become I feel like saying also resentment that did not to show you from one side of the cold. Lithium fear but now is a nun. Also considered avoid being seems unsympathetic to those who are more become immoral. You do not know once you cut yourself while also the pilot flame. Where until the head is confused it restrained the mind there is also. Even now that you are asked a surprising sin that we have decided. This. I propose Sorauser Ishiku and you have one thing to be together I think in conscience. What happened even if Crown Princes you're successfully ascended the throne also boss if I will be satisfied. Quote. Just say that. It was the truth of the confession. Mia also only became accepted a big impulse in the words of Genji since was to become no. Everyone. Did not also boss as anything use Stonehenge. Resentment of the first lover. Father sexual love. The figure of Genji cry sadness of separation is becoming one was a last elegance. I will be with you to the future tomb, or there is not your words Jude. Genji said, but the house of your Stonehenge was not for a while. Is your state that so come to the hesitation? See she is not there undergoes also each tearfully Shikahi transgression the sad world of hate. Mia is left over as feeling your grief was not to be perfect as your as a song. Excellent you of the world once again was to run out of its sad too and farewell. This is the work of Genji. Since last month came out, I tried to go to the tomb of the Sanjo Palace Genji out. Today only 5, was only brought 6 people. Under the samurai was also carried out in a horse in the only close person. Albeit too late thing but it would be lonely line of what compared to going out of the previous. Genji had saddened everyone also house follow us. Right Kanohata Sao which also serves as the brewers. Which came out in accordance become general of the temporary Zujin on the day of your purification. Ceremony of old Saiyan in it. The hierarchy of the course this year should go up not even been promoted. Attendance of Furadata Koro is stopped, because had been deprived of the government. It is also willing it has become to one person to go to Suma. The company of this man Shitakomo is much overlooked come to the places. Is suddenly the old days came floating in the eyes. Sang taking a horse of the mouth of Genji as soon as get off jump from the horse. If Omo the Sono Kami Shikaze saw Oi is taking along Surashi of Kamo Mizugaki. No matter how this man's mind would be sad, because he was a gorgeous young man superior to anyone in that era. And I think when Genji was painful, himself was also in God your farewell to Yohai the company's Kamo down from the horse. If the float world each now left to the god of Tadashi if the release Rururo stayed his name. Literary this young man to the grace of Genji and singing was thrilled. Genji stood to come to the tomb of Chichitayas. Long ago as seems to become now. But that in your Zaiseis was to feel that appear in front of me. But precious Kunda also those of the past become as if turned into. Cannot be made to put out the appearance also to the front of the beloved son is sad. But that many of Genji complain tearfully. Cannot hear anything of the answer. When will that was all lost to where is the number of your last woolen testament that was also Basa? For myself, it was Genji such a thing is also to be sad here. Have high weeds where there is your tomb fly. People who are as divided as the whole body of revitalization in Russia. At this time, the month even if just hidden into the clouds. Terrible without Kilimari to the front of the forest is followed by dark. And feel like a good, even not go home again in this state. Intently when Genji is worshipped, our appearance of the remains of the old days seemed to vision. It was a vision that was clearly visible enough to cold injury. While to elsewhere orchid seen in the late shadows and squid Tiao Muru moon is hiding paint. Genji when I made the other morning and went to the article of the hospital. Genji, control of your farewell also to the crown prince, was the greeting. Since Nakamayo will have you put to buckwheat at you the house instead of your own Nome women. It was doing to have a letter to the better of the room. Finally today stands Kyoto, that which is not get Hagen, the temple, and asked again. In sorrow greater than anything of sorrow I think. I everything also maker and for his breast. Please I would like to temple as Yoroshiki. It is one into Yushina-Eru mountain when you look at the sometime also Haruno metropolitan of flowers. This letter, most of the cherry blossoms had been attached to the branches scattered. Myobu, as I would like to departure today of Genji, and put this letter to your eyes to the crown prince. Albeit at your childhood became comrade, it becomes serious. Your answer let think if Yoroshu if you have to write, because it's my also do not meet for a while I miss. If gone too far, right, and I think it would matter how becomes painful, and Mia or Seth. Myobu had watched the tragic temple and thought it would be what that your childish of. Once upon a time of Genji was engrossed in painful love. The case of the one day. In the case of one night Myobu is remembered. And I think that would be the was good not that long hard time to the two of you if did not have the love. It was painful and seems to be responsible for themselves. Response. Sorry, we have not found Monkey Shoga anything. I mentioned is to me alike. We look your forlorn your appearance I also am very Kanashu. After I wrote in this there's a place which is not know well distraught with grief. Behold the spring, saw fall to go but sorrow and bloom lit were up the city of flowers. In addition to open the year luck let thank surely. Although should also wrote in. Continued the sad story together with other wives also in the after. Palace of the crown prince was full to the voice of the shinobi Naki. He who has seen Genji even one day is not even people that does not spare grieving that stand in. Everyone unhappy journey, in the much less always the place that has been in and out of Genji. Eldest daughter that is not known to more of Genji. Have undergone a junior of Genji benevolence of even the wife of such as your love people. Even as a nightmare ending in even if a short period of time. Meanwhile, had Tanai that they cannot see the Genji world was also not as no one person Shido and recognize who the treatment of this time officials. And have 7-year-old to the Soba of Chichitai night and day. The words of Genji Street altogether. Recommendation of Genji did not also be wasted. Officials are not things that no one suffer the favor of Genji. It's not who no gratitude for the Genji. Such a person also in the valve officer also in the Taiken were many. Less is innumerable. Everyone that is does not have forgotten all favor. But Habaka, a terrible government that does not choose the means to retaliate. It is not those who come to view the favor to the current of Genji. Society as a whole is generous to Genji. Who reproach the government is in the shade. Even if there is blame those who, at the expense of self, even if sympathy to Genji. And it is untimely for many more things for the sake of Genji think of the will it. But while I think it is not a gentleman to Dari grudge against. And indeed also with Urameshiku made people in many heart of Genji. Be attached to what the life is one nasty it seemed. On the day we have talked all day wife, Genji did on as examples of that time was going to go out. Wearing such karajinu. I had a simple ryoso. Seems to have come out month. Came out to a little more towards the end. Please just put off. I would have to think every day and has piled up a lot to talk to you. And are in day or two other painful even to accumulate talk eye of the eye. To say, rolled up a mistake, and invite the queen close to the edge. His wife who was Nikishi's and went out doing knee while hesitation. Very beautiful queen in the place indicated by the light of the moon was sitting. And I think that will this person is in what way once dead in their journey. Genji but was sad to have become a concern going to leave. If you remember such a thing. Be even more sad this person to the thought. Wonder if Karu only life to the people while tearing it know the farewell of living world. It was ephemeral thing. Just say that. Heartbreaking heart at the bottom where are you with the my show? Oshikara Bran and fart life to the daishigana is often kept in front of the parting of the eye. And Mrs. Say, when I think that it would be the cry of the truth of the heart. It was the Genji cannot go standing. Went farewell think unsightly to leave the house sits the Donnas. On the way also visible remnants of his wife in the eye. Genji took the ship while keeping Fusagara the chesting brief. Long time in their dab of the day. A line of Genji to the 4 o'clock afternoon was also a tailwind arrived in Suma. The Genji never of travel. Was the first time I'll also be interesting Kokoro Boso of experience. A place called Odono only pine have devastated stood seem those of the old relic. No skinny and staying at home, not known to Yuku than leaving Karu a person's name to Karakuni. And Genji was Kuchizu-sama. Looking at the wave due to the beach is immediately a return wave, which was also up to the mouth of Genji Itodo also wave kana to go envious to properly go pass towards the Koishiki. Nobody is old song of new Nara here in Assen, but people that have become sentimental have been touched by this song. Mountains looking at the better to come is not hazy far away. The three sing 1,000 miles out of the trip. It was also feel you are in the frontier of the poem, which was crying to drop the paddle. Tiamulu's sky is the same or Kumoy etc. Haze of mine is Sure interval the Fursada. Is all of those were seen sad and lonely. Location of secluded life is close to the place where Yukihira lived singing Ida Moshio dripping. While Wabi helmet answer, around a slightly entered from the coast, is in a very lonely mountain. Genji defends familiar unexpected rare thing also that speculating thought. Thatched roof a house. It is a building, such as hits in the row of thatched reeds had become a tasteful residence was continued. The flavor was changed at all from the city of the house were also in must think surely. Interesting if there was a house to stay in just of journey from here I'll hobby Genji look think. Call and who custody of territory near here. Or ordered a variety of work, such as Yokioshi Asen was also pathetic to efforts also that, not only under the role of the profession, the house also has become an interesting elegant mountain villa in a very tanjijutsu, or to deeply the flow of the water. I feel the dream was about seeing come to calm down or allowed to plant trees. Setsu because Mamoru was also a man who was enslaved to Genji from the previous, but not openly had asked a favor by such a thing. But the house should be a quasi-show people out as the many. Is Genji like being even in a foreign country rather than swift conversation partner was to appear. Many years in the Surezure life also whether it will be able to persevere Genji've got their own crisis journey around the house began to prepare for the last well-equipped format. Have become the season of another early summer rain. Genji was reminded frequently it is that of Kyoto. I miss people there were many. Mrs. who had sunk to Kumtan. That of Crown Prince. Wakagimi was playing well innocently cheerfully. Was not sad thinking just such a thing. Genji decided to issue a used to Kyoto. Letters to the house of the priest to the article of the hospital did not write easily. To the temple. Of Tamaya of Matsushima does not go summon or a people to firefly around. Always. But there is not. In particular as from now enter the early summer rain. Sad thing. Old miss it is exceptionally deep. Will Itasa is exceptionally feel that their world becomes dark. Was because. Shoji to the place up. In the manner of personal communication to your Chunagon as in the example. To put into it is. The more that is reminiscence of the old days in Sure's array of run-in. Will be just feel that need to want to see you. Baker of salt Yukishiki of Mirum of Korazuma Dizomo a sweep and how. I wrote. The words were many. Also written to Sadaijin. The attention of the child care also to your Prime Minister of Nani Wakagimi Genji sent wrote. Kyocera were many people to be worried by letter that resulted in the use of Suma. Queen of the article of the hospital is to be subjected to an impact that cannot be possible to get up. Wife the queen cries sir I had a discouraging thought and cannot placate it. hand tools that have been used of Genji, musical instruments that had always played. It feels to receive from such as take off clothes of incense when was seemed as violent as the remains of dead people for the wife. In this state is also struggling wife. Shanigan asked that the prayer to the Bishop of Kitayama, and because of the pathetic immediate family of Mrs. at Kitayama, it was a dual cultivation for Genji, and that 10 out of the mind of Mrs. Go subsided. It was prayed that the happy day is also coming back on top of the two people to the Buddha. In the article of the hospital was to be sent to Suma also makes his covers such summer used by the people of Mukurai Mukan Silk Heel. Even to see that Go tailored the thimble. The sorrow that did not depend also once thought Mrs. felt many. Heart in the certainty of is the shadow of the mirror is always said that would not away from you. Also miss people of the vestiges is not away from the eyes of the word. Not the reality of that did not become anything. Doorway Genji that enters or exits from there. Was the wife of clogged chest and grief is also seen frequent pillar of that is more suffering. The amount of the now of grief even in the person of the elderly can be seen in comparison to that of the past of some. That the must is not bear these things. Lived Matsu Majiku than anyone. When there is a suddenly pulled apart by the queen in person was a yeoman a guardian that has been caressed also become a mother to my father think Miss Genji is the most sad if the person who died also. But it is to teach give up time. This as far is not a paradise. It's a Mrs. Painful then is the farewell do not think also defines the time return it is thing. Palace of the priest also Genji for the crown prince has become saddened that sunken adversity. In addition Utanki of the house also thought from the fate of the depth of the Genji. Must is complex. So far. Just horribly the world. If misery a little bit of pity only. Genji thereby is envisioned that appear to act you forget both the world body. Move the mind be in one to suppress. Even of your own mind by that it has been taught Suzuka callous attitude to ignore. Is the after completion not stand anything of the rumor despite the noisy world. Also in love with Genji was not given the growth in the emotion of your own. Just the temple, which is obo shimeshi to be because there was his painful efforts, is to become your and none. And Genji is subject to also sadly miss Genji from freed frontier there is no order to now or being. Obo shimeshi. Your reply was also there is Jomi compared to the previous one. Even more these days. Gain, respectively the experience sweet also lament year in Matsushima about that Shiho Taruru. Was because Shoji is given. If each defunct to go by smoke smolder if love rap and Amada cook on the back. Abbreviated that it is not even say too late. So short that is your Chuinagon came reported the pathetic state of Shoji which is sad. Genji spilled tears there is also versus the shim to the body. Since the Queen of Purple was the reply of the letter of Genji was filling the specially delicate information. It had been written many that the shim to learn. Ura people of salt, tradition wave guide interval vine of night clothing behold compared to the sleeve, from Mrs. Dat, good hobby that has been refined in night clothes and clothing such that Taurus entrusted to use. Looked. Genji Queen became the woman who was superior to any it was happy. Of youth, love be liquidated. And I think that what you have had is when trying to enjoy a quiet life in this person. Genji fate was Urameshika, supposed to think the vestiges of the queen night and day. Miss the more unexpected is bare Genji. Still Waka Murasaki came to feel that Yumukai Yodasuma, the hensho, from Sadaijin with each other is written variously that of Wakagimi. Thereby also has information of parents who are parting with the child more than Hirawas to move. Because of being equipped with a reliable grandparents. Disturbing to be considered as soon as the need is not to think. The word darkness of the child as well seems as thin as compared with the darkness of worldly desires. Think the wife was visible to this person. Genji as Genji were was issued a UC even toward the Miyasunda Koro of Ice. But I got leaked to write in the article beginning that moved to Suma. views also have a long wait. A statement from there was Yokosa. In a letter that has been passionately written, it seemed a graceful Fudetsuki. Control, such is not likely to be, even if we do, a reality we have received that the secluded life. Or it is also still from my dark heart. Not perhaps have seen a continuation of the night of the dream. It should be noted that in such a fate years you will likely intends it is probably or not to be placed you, when you think of it. Sindipa it seems whether that when the Musasori the ends with the countries in the sea. Without Fuitsuma Norate Moshi Hositala Momoi the Kato of the Yukamekaru eyes. World what will be? Just anxious thoughts will atasa. Is Karinari myself without even saying inevitable and clams in person of Ice Island and low tide. It is long such thing as Miyasunda Koro who received the urge to letter of Genji is then written to the Atoiato. White china of paper 4 had been kept winding 5 sheets. Shofu also was beautiful, but there was the person who had love. The negligent act of the person. From the fact that the Dari uranium found in the heart and with a cut of sympathy. And I think that Miyasunda Koro is also had gone to the distant country Nagayu love. Genji is Kokoro Guro Shiku even now. Ice are thinking Miyasunda Koro is a person who according to the Sari eyes. Since there wasn't came a letter with information to such a place. Even the use is likely to close those of the lover of Yukari. 2. The story of Ice is allowed to stay 3 days was or was accused of courtier us. It was a good samurai of young Yakana feelings. Since seclusion is that of samurai had shed tears of joy there is also in contact with the faintly Genji of appearance such a person even if somewhat close. The contents of the reply the writing of Genji was impressed by the news of Ice is not may not be imagined. If you had to predict the day that come across in such a fate, and so I was to become out of your together of the journey with you than anywhere else. It is in the pensive became a habit from Sure of the well it seems lonely for you. What we write in the other texture is mode in the boat, rowing on the waves of I's people. When to do view to Sumanora dripping Shiho in out Amagatsu-matan. When is thought that it would kucha Zukarak until we are sad in the same way every day. It is because something like this was also Genji is wrote a love, such as sufficient to Nagasamu of the opponent's mind that comfort to the pleasure also owned to obtain a reply to any person. Hanacha Sato also came wrote a sad heart, which in personality is also visible. The letter of the lover is not others, not comfort the Genji. Also it is to be the musings of hosted species. Sleeve Kana consuming also Shieku while views of the eaves over rough the Shinobu Russia. Hana singing in Chisato as the Genji and is of an addition to about herself that have note of the guardianship of the weed that was higher Omoiya. In order to earthen wall that had been also wrote that collapsed here and there to long reign of Kyoto house doing order to Tsukasa. It was so called the laborers from the territory in the Kingoku to the residents of the repair of flowers Chisato. Since Shoji is a woman that caused the direct exile of Genji from the world is watching derisively, far away to lover, from drowning in out deep tan, minister of most love and I think the aware because the was the daughter is, to was the eagerly intercession to Fudo Shikasaki. Because also I would like to apologize to the Emperor. Shoji is an official of the Lady Length. Nyogo that Samurai Saru to sleep swallow. Dressing has caused not a problem. Now that it may be if there is a royal exemption as negligence. Emperor of Europe but it became to hate you a point with a lover betrayed Icho. Also supposed to be Tora Kordat infused of absolution. The heart of Shoji is less than the love of Genji it had been. That it has been achieved it is in July, since it was a very favorite, without also oboshi meshi reproach of the people. Shoji just your normal palace of the night watch plants had been placed. Or become your resentment, your of emperor or begone vows of love unchanging forever in their appearance as your admirable. But it's such an elegant person. although it is not aware of the things which is not trivial. Tired of this? The shoji it is up to a waist because only Miss Genji in the ensemble of music when it comes to come by the courtier who emperor to shoji. It's that it is lonely that he is not, because I think so. With the other there is a people who might be more acutely so. To feel that no longer is a thing called light also on what? It was of being Setha. Then also, I had rebelled against your rule of the hospital. I must be punished after the dead. To ask to become your say well Namita Gumi and shoji I could not cry. Life is becoming a feeling that he boring things. It together with the other never longer seems to be not live. When I was gone, what do you think? When made by the person to travel is not me sad more than goodbye I will be disappointed. Live in Aishiao people who are happy to promise to try as long as that would not know my depth of love I think of you. I'm in the afterlife go I want to love one with you until when is Lord said in a nostalgic tone, because it was to have been shown love, such as overflows from the bottom of our hearts. Tears of shoji was spilled by ones and twos. Sora, tears fall, for both. An emperor became your say. Is lonely without the boy to me until now. Crown prince and as their child to your words as per hospital I'm thinking. But are in between a variety of human. Kokoro Guro Shiku because my love is not thorough not te. Such as to become your narrative. If there are those who do politics that does not depend on your will. And your no will be made if the weakness of the young your mind it seems agony is not extinct. Autumn wind has become the time to blow the village of Suma. The sea is a little far. But Seiki also more than enough of the fall wave sound of the waves stand and you can hear a sing of Suma. The night is becoming sounded particularly high. Unbearably lonely in the fall of Tokyo there were. Have all also asleep a few of those who are close night duty in the living room. And only one of Genji is listening to all sides of the wind of one house awake. Seem to come surging waves up in the immediate vicinity. Fall someday pillow in tears nor has become enough to be washed away. I tried playing the harp a little bit. Really sits heard despite itself. In a play. Fu powder to sound the cry take koi hawabi breakers blow wind other than those who omu orchid. I was singing with Waiwangas from awake to the singing voice of gruesomeness. It had set up a voice of sob without any reason to get up someday. The hearts of its people Genji was to be sad caring. For one person myself. And to the people of wandering in farewell to his hometown heartily there is also. Mistress parent brothers think they are going on. That they are or fall on their own deep musings. The above expect Genji and would be them to want Kokoro Bozo. During the day or try to Majaraso the loneliness on a journey to say the Hutan together and everyone. Or the Tenurai by inherit a variety of paper. Rare china of Aya, etc. It was or draw a picture too. It was very interesting and try to affix the picture to the folding screen. Genji when I was in Kyoto, but was drawn to imagine with good landscape of the human story was land and sea to draw a landscape. A picture drawn become today that can sketch the masterpiece was often there is a lively life. Tokuchi which is said to be the landlord of the current. Some in the guise are something ordinary law. When a draw here on Mitsuka. Both people had said, I think the crowning of happiness that you are living a beautiful Genji. 4 or 5 people had accompanied always without leaving. In the evening, which bloomed in a variety of garden akikusa flower. Beauty of Genji, which looked out toward the porch with a view of the sea. Those for everyone, more only as lonely ones. Such as the drawing of the field eyes standing. From those of this world is not think. Soft white eye to overlap the light purple of the indigo did not heal. Even if only reciting sutras I loosely Dai-sama tighten the appearance by the standing Sakamuni. Utsudeshi name has voice also very gracefully band it was heard. Some of the ship had been around and rowing the better off the coast while making a song voice. 4 more to feel lonely in the ship which is not visible only to about floating a bird in the Fane is The voice of the wild goose of a line passing through the above is very similar to the sound of Kaji. The color of the hands of Genji to pay the tears. The beauty looking better in Kuroki multiplied rosary. There has been a force to sufficiently mitigate the youth of the mind that is miss a woman's hometown. Hitsukari is Koishiki, a flying voice of bitterness ne'er in travel of people sad. And Genji says, Yoki-yoshi, loose ho oyster line think respectively that the old wild goose is domone not that good of a friend. People part daisuke waiguang. Sincerely wonder if Karu Omoi also despite the goose that rather than discard the Tokoyo of clouds. Before Yukon Susumu is Nagasamu each more unexpected is also lagging behind in the column sky becomes wild goose of the journey out Tokoyo. I think it would be what it had not been for fellow. And he said, without going also to the parents of the duty station became throughout Hitachi he is coming to hear. Agony will have to show the always gorgeous pride. It is a carefree act without youth. Outright month. Today I noticed the Genji to be a jugo of the Mid-Autumn Festival. And court music is omoiana. Anywhere and I think I would be watching this month. Was the only face of the moon can be seen. Genji and 2,000 miles outside the deceased heart was Genji. Youth ice are listening to tears as an example. This month the temple of the priest is fog and septum fine, and you say I miss it last fall became. Then the mind is moving in the memories of the first lover of a variety of case to it. At length will establish a voice Genji was crying. I already compelling a late. Even if there are those who say that Genji is not about to enter into the bedroom. Capital of often Nagasamu around if Sotter month each has seen by Domo ne'er much. The last year of the same night, Emperor also Genji became similar to the various sports tasteful institute of the old story in. The older tone had reminded Miss Genji while humming the Imperial Enzo now standing seat went to the living room. Enzo of Imperial is also there to there. Thanks to Tomihito of the cattle Kana sleeves Ruru get wet to the left and right in the barking. Think. And it was also sung. Dani of Kyushu secretary in this time came up, since the number of clan followers are many. Was also in a lot. Daughter Dani it has a large force. Was the only ship of the journey to the ladies. And that although the men in the line of the sea to go the land in places as came while the sightseeing attractions in the confluence were scenic general of Genji to Sumanora landscape is not secluded life then be listening to. Daughters of round young fashionable year. Was Dari sick to care about the well-dressed while in the midst of everyone unseen ship? Your 5 festivals was the lover of Genji in it. Was something not bear the sorrow of information without also can be landed in Suma? When the harp of sound play of Genji came here faintly a mix in the Pudong wind. Along with thinking in the lonely sea downy fermentation of nobles. Who cried all with a feeling of decent. Dani was a greeting to Genji. I that we have up from distant countryside. And we first waiting upon it put to Kyoto. It was there in those fancy that I will suggest the capital of talk from you like. For surprising queer, we become a secluded life will continue through today a land very proposed at the waste. There is I think sad that relatives and acquaintances or a machine down to pick from the other Kyoto. To this side, they because they're so of those who sell. There is no out to see you. But also we will them to suggest a part. But then that, we went to use the chikus and protect the child. Genji is because I was a man who favors to recommend to the brewers. While sorrow to the double suicide was going to go home as soon as Hibaka, a glance. Both people who have get to know the old days from out of the Kyoto though was not supposed to be met easily. I think to the satisfaction that you have me come to visit all the way. And Genji said, reply to the Dani also was such a thing. Chikus and Mamoru back tears, and reports such as the state of residence of Genji, including the Dani. People greeted who had come from Kyoto also cried together. Your section B sent a letter to the Genji hidden in people. Lame to know the mind Mr. Fu was unrelenting detain et al. Haruru Sunada a rope to harp of sound ya. You will please comedy of being crazy about SMTH. Of music, from a written as Genji had watched with a smile, is a letter that has come out well of rules evil likely at the young daughter. Mine therein was too out with was unrelenting Yasuman or a wave of rope of admirer. It is that you did not think that would become the fishing village of Kato. This is a reply written by Genji. Genji seems like a tourist who left the poetry to the station master of Akashi. 5 festivals were sympathy as you want to remain here also divided into parent-sibling. I felt a lot of loneliness without a source of light in accordance with the standing of the month and day in Kyoto. His Majesty was also the one person, let alone crown princes always miss Oboshi Meshi the Genji, to come crying when the unseen of the people. Nanny, we were pathetic look. Ome women is to have a particularly complex your sympathy among them. Palace of the priestess or there is no such thing as cause the upsetting your position of crown. Prince was your anxiety always. Today also had ousted to Genji. It was to come to think only nothing but Kokoroba Soku. Your brother Miya or other acquainted were officials of Genji as obtained by the frequently Genji. And correspondence around the time of the beginning. Bandage take the poetry sham only of people. Was to not very meet the satisfaction of Fudo Shikasaki that the work of those of Genji is praised. In Sejo, things that people who receive the emperor's censure is. I think it is not possible to live ish freely ordinary people. Live in a tasteful house flatter the human to be going to say the dear to slander the modern that. It is a horse person is there. So you say to the people who think annoying to come growth in retaliation of the hand on the alert. No longer recently the other news. As the princess of the article of the hospital stands. That over a time, every time also became deeply mourned. The beginning that had been moved to here also wife was in a pair of east. Because the self-esteem of many a women, with and without big deal, just thought the queen that it would be only women of Genji has attracted the mind especial which was, but to miss the beautiful appearance of Mrs. been familiar, to a sincere personality, warm and admire in people treated with compassion. No one person, not even those who beg for spare time. Mrs. for people who are coming from a good home was also a face-to-face. They were think as Genji than anyone has been found why I love you. Although the better of Suma is the estranged life of the Queen of Purple is think Genji and not to. He endured is to go then leave this? In a miserable home or to such a life in the wet of fate even on your own. Flower the fact that grief the princess. Such as is to be is also Omoike-sa and is that not too caring. When you also like to say as something people of nagging the servant and farmers carried out in a place close to the living room. There was also even think itself with Genji itself and is that too wasteful. The stand sometimes smoke in the neighborhood. This is but Genji had been thought for a long time in the will of smoke to burn salt of Kato. It was the smoke that kusug the bush in the mountains behind the cottage. Work at the time of hearing this. Often Takaru to the hermitage of Yamagatsu also came Koto to Isha Nam love hometown people. Genji while watching the sky of gray on the day of rough down of snow as in winter had been playing the harp, and to sing a song to Yokiyoshi. The Waigwang ordered the roll of whistle. Since the eagerly Genji a fine hand began to play. I was in tears on the harp of sound stop that it has been the other 2 people ordered. Mood when the Han Emperor had comforted himself playing the lute of the temple woman became sent. You to the country of Katayabisu would have been a much less no matter how sad thing. It is that of the current, and his mistress than if we do to far away. And although such a thing Genji imagined, eventually it came seems to be that of truth. I became sad. Genji phrase of poetry that sang the Wang Jiao Jun as who angle cry frost after a dream was up to the mouth. Moonlight is bright. Narrow house seemed to airy wawa to every corner of the back. Midnight sky was on edge. saw the white as the moon close to another fall is amazing. Genji in today's Saigyo non-relegation, he sang. Ran it is also a shame however be seen in the Kumoji of Who of Us also stray condemnation month. Both said, Genji as in the example could not sleep overnight. Chidori is crowed with voice shimdaware at dawn. Tomo Chidori, Akatsuki that rather than to various voices one person, floor of Nezame also. Tanamoshi, since there is no shadow that anyone was still awake. Genji had been advocated by many times repeated this song. It was given a fresh impression to the courtier who are the Nenzu and finished the Choza while still dark. In does not occur willing to go away from this Genji. There is no person who is going to temporarily go out to the Kyoto of the house. Because there was the closeness of enough to go Ura of Akashi. Even crawling. Yokiyoshi Asen has been or send written a letter to remind the daughter of the priest of Akashi. Hensho did not come. I came to say a little want to come to see you because there may want to consult from the father of the priest visiting known house be not me depending on the suitor. Dressed coming out there in the disappointed face and would look a fool. Yokiyoshi is not let to interpret to the poor better. Even great self-esteem is strong. Is in addition to the family of the secretary of the current country priest who does not know the local people of psychology that do not pay respect to anyone. Had toward Suzuki the attitude that ward off suitors to the daughter to everyone why. He said to his wife heard that Genji is a secluded life in Suma. Your source of light that birth dressing of your of Kuritsubo that he has not come to Suma in the emperor's censure. Since I have received suggests that there is about the fate of my daughter. Somehow a daughter to you of Genji on this occasion I think I want to give you. Quote, it is thought you were very wrong. That person is me SSH I need also have many people a fine wife. Will it became to steal you for your mistress of beyond his majesty has Nasu the downfall in question. Such people does it made to place you like to the daughter of the countryside grew up. Quote, his wife said, priest is angry. I do not you to issue a mouth. Eye to eye is considered. Keep the ready for marriage. Because to welcome you of Genji to create the opportunity to Akashi. Also to say that selfish unlimited and quirky personality has been suggesting. It was the home of the heirs the delicate equipment of the more dazzling feel that priest is for her daughter. Well why must so, no matter how in the person who also your fine person Irasharu come flow there is a sin for the first time of the marriage of the daughter. Such as trying to husband. I do not have such a feeling. It also thank Yoroshu purchase decisions I love you. But such a thing is not even imagined. Please do not ashara such a thing even in Hutan. And when the wife says priest is there for mortification, he had said grumbling in something courts. To be accused of as sure some disaster that is in excellent genius person like you of Genji. Also here in China, what do you think is your Genji? Daughter of Anchayu's Dainagan was my uncle there I mother you. In excellent women, gathered in one person the grace of the emperor and put out to me as okay. So I'd received a lot of jealousy of people. Pretty is the fact that so come remaining you of Genji thing such a person that the woman everyone should be to become a dressing of Kuritsubo even I have to say that the countryside who was indigenous to the region will us forgive approaches you in the old nepotism. Such as the priest was saying. The daughter is not to have a good appearance. But graceful elegant woman, is such that it is equipped with the insight it was not as good as the daughter of the aristocracy. Know themselves the circumstances. To the upstream of the man will not put in the eye myself. I do not think trying to marry identification considerable man to say whether it. If Shindoikare parents supposed to be alive long none there would be any time. Had the belief that I even threw himself into the sea. Priest is to take care once to pilgrimage daughter by twice a year to the company's Sumiyoshi. I had to secretly ask the favor of God. Suma is long in the spring on became much time to learn the Sure of the day. Also in the planted young trees of cherry blossoms began to bloom last year. A reminded Kyoto also in the color of the sky hazy it is. Of Genji cry the day there were many. February is a 20 several days. A state of Kokoro Guroshika, where people at the time of last year out of the Kyoto became what to know frequently. The hospital of the reign of the last of the cherry blossoms of the feast day Chichitai. Think our appearance of your brother majesty of the gloss of crown prince era. It was also recalled Miss became Genji, a poem of Genji. She held up cherry tree and Koishiki of time and without Omiyahido carry also come today. And Genji sang, when I Genji is Wabi living the day. Third place Lieutenant General of Sadaijin home to Takio of Suma came to visit. Currently they become counselor, but it is also of a special that is trusted by the public because it is a fine figure in Kimiko. Prestigious. The person himself is not like air now of society. Each cage of something to Genji is missing, and decided that he does not regret be subject to punishment in that it is of came out of the Kyoto. To suddenly meet with Genji, a close friend, yet long-faced two people who did not get the time to see was unlikely in the first meeting, which happened obtained. Chancellor was noticed that mountain villa of Genji is a very tofu. Some of the scenery, such as painting, is Megu Rasa the fence woven bamboo. Stone stairs that are used, such as pine paroki of the pillars was interesting. Genji is on top of the thin red clothes sallow. It was in modest attire of grey carabinu thimble with a bluish. Even clothing that was purposely avoiding the capital wind has been willing to show favors. Beautifully even more Genji. Indoor equipment also just a simple thing. Room to daily life is also look no korazu from the seat of the customer. Checkerboard, board of Suguro-ku, is a thing of such ingredients of Tamachi also could shabby rustic had been placed. Such as the rosary was out it seemed had been Buddha worked until it a little while ago. Interesting local color is also visible in everything that has been issued to the entertainment of guests. Since Uminshu who returned from fishing is closer such as to deliver the shellfish, Genji decided to try calling the people to the front of the parlor. You are a customer. When the question about life in a fishing village, they spill the economically painful Yawatari. Also tweet the loquacious talk like a little bird has become the rude as the Shosei flame. Young noblemen is saying we are also the same thing had in De Mercy. Uminshu who were given such as clothes was seemed felt the first time have lived for born to each. The horse of Sanzo several pied be arranged. It also has to or not Ue's rice to extract from those or something, warehouse toka barn visible. From here was rare even to the customer also to Genji. The Kuima of music Asukai from singing in two people, if crying today's story in the absence of Genji, while also laughing. Prime Minister began to walk gimme the minister in that you are in innocence without knowing also that there is a everything does not become a pathetic is all the time, when it is a story that has Tanai. Genji was free not bear the sorrow. To exhaust write a conversation of two people will be omitted since it is that you cannot hardly told not sleep overnight, and was also made poetry by two people. Nevertheless ignored the dignity of the government. Prime Minister also things than food do not like. The next morning became a person to go another farewell. Favor maybe rather say that to make amusings after. While to hand the cup to people with a good baile sachun cup back sang together. Those who were coming to the test were also shed all tears. Farewell to be missed between both the house princes it is also certain of. There is an empty row of Gisco of Asaberake. Genji. Yuri Yamashiki does look to go one of either spring the hometown go wild goose. And he said, I do not feel that Prime Minister is going out. Road and windows solder in the city of farewell flowers up the Tokoyo of geese not red. Saying was not sad. Chancellor presented him a souvenir, which was wholeheartedly came brought from Kyoto to Genji. From Genji to say that in order to send to Kataji Kanai guests. Gave the black horse. It seems to give what is strange. When you blew the individual wind, because I think that as neighing at your side. And he said, it was a rare enough good horse. This is I would like you to think keepsake. Chancellor was also carried out at one of the whistle has become famous goods. Things like a problem standing in the public eye as was not in both. Up and feel to be erected hurry to return to the day came. The Prime Minister is going to stand this seat while just neglected. Is followed by standing Genji in order to see off was sad. You'll be able to see you also. Indefinitely, in this state there is no such thing as you are Sudioka. The Prime Minister said, we're otherwise only cloudy Kasuga see the crane also air shock or fly near the clouds. Although I never think themselves guilty. It is made once this way. Because the small world out examples again even in the old days of fine people. I do not even hope to see by all means also a thing called capital. It was the way Genji say answer. While Koihi the Kaibing Beshi friend but rather than each the alone sound to Tezuka defunct Humoi. That it is often regret that it be a waste at the time that I am allowed to you intimate to rude. The Prime Minister was left while to say. Friendship became man Genji or lonely after that comfort for a while. This year, there was only the day-to-day of March. This is today, not merely of your attempt. Those who are there to unhappy eyes is there the date on which it is said that there is always effective if the control Misogi. Because there is a person who says Ken is me. Genji, which had also wanted to go to the once near the sea was out of the house. Create a temporary control Misogi field turn draw such things as just a curtain. Genji was the miso he hired on Myoji of the journey. Looking at the shed and put a slightly larger Misogi position of the doll on the ship. Genji thought their misery similar to this? Known Zarishi came flowing to the original of the ocean. On the other hand Nia are things sad. Genji got to the seat on the Shaw singing and looked at much less in such a bright place waters. Edge. See that was the same color as the sky hazy little was overcome to aurora. And not even have looked at heaven and earth. Genji seemed to many that in the past the future. If Yaoman's God also the same sin without the Okaseru or Kodomu unaware. And when the Genji was finished singing, the sky was getting dark by blowing wind. Expression of your purification ceremony did not end quite yet. But people's noisy standing. No on this been raining it seems showers thing called Hiji Kasami busy. The party but was of trying to pull up the Kara beach request of shade recently. On such prepared, such as had not been from the beginning. The sea of wind blow about nothing. By the time you start running crazy in toward the house. Towards the sea is shining while swollen is spread the food on. Thunder and lightning has been hit. People with fear felt falling just above was finally arrived at the house. Do not be met in such a thing. Even that blow of the wind. But one in which from before the weather deteriorates to notice basis. And becomes so suddenly storm. Although people of Sanso wanted fear the weather not be still mountain thunder while saying such a thing. Were exposed to the legs of the rain as the fall is heavy rain. Such as pierced any place. Thus, when the world is everyone wants Kokorobosa weather to destruction. Genji was reading quietly through. Day thunder was a little away from the time the sunset, but the wind was blowing at night. Microscopic cracks of the force that people to the gods was erected many Dagon would be this? If followed by a little more storms. Drawn to Sina must have gone to the sea. Thing called Keisho but had heard that's what there is a death people suddenly happened. Today to have caused the wind and rain or it seems different. Quote, and people had said such. When I went to sleep that everyone become a dawn of the night. Genji and I think it has a little doze often. Of appearance is not the man who is to come. Why not come to there to Irasharu has called the king. Saying, I had a dream to walk around the sides so as to determine the Genji. While surprised Genji when the shark saw if that storm also try to notice the dragon king of the sea was the work of staring attracted the heart to yourself to beautiful human beings. no longer be endured is that you are in horribly in this house. Thank you for your viewing. If you like, please subscribe to the channel. I am very encouraged.